Scoffman is a live YouTube channel. I look at comic books new and old. Today I'm looking at a new comic book, Absolute Batman #2 by DC Comics. It's a $4.99 comic book. It's written by Snyder. Nick Dragotta is the artist. I think he's the pencil and inker. And because it doesn't have an inker listed. And we got Frank Martin on the colors here. So cool cover here by Nick Dragotta. I got the main cover. This book has been absolutely hard to find when it comes out. It almost, first two issues seem to have sold out pretty much immediately at the comic book shops. I was able to get this on my pull list, so the shop was able to pull an issue for me off the shelves and hold it until I came in, so I was able to get one. So I highly recommend doing that at your comic book shop if you haven't yet. Just go in there and start a pull list so you don't miss an issue of the comics that you want to get. Because if you just go in and try and find any of these Absolute Batman comics, they're going to be hard to find. You're not going to be able to find them very easily, and you might have to go online and pay extra on like eBay or Amazon to try and find them. So they did come out with a Batman Noir edition, Absolute Batman #1, and where it's all in black and white, so you can just look at the inks. That just came out this week. Looked really nice. I might go back and pick it up if they still have a copy in a few days. But I highly recommend picking that up if you haven't yet. Those are pretty cool. So look at issue #2 here. We got Batman. He's kind of leaping over the top of Alfred here. And this is Alfred. He's kind of like a secret agent in this Absolute universe. He's not the butler of Batman, and Batman doesn't even have a mansion in this universe. We get a flashback here at the beginning to when Bruce lost his father, but his mom is still alive, and she actually does show up in this issue. So pretty cool double splash page here. We've got like the hand of Bruce, a young Bruce, and his father here is being surrounded by all these bats after he's been killed during their trip to the zoo, which is the title of this miniseries within Absolute Batman. This first series within Absolute Batman is called The Zoo. It's a 5-part series, so the first 5 issues will be centering around this kind of origin story of the Batman. So the main focus of this issue is Batman versus the party animals, and they are controlled by the big bad of this series. His name is Sionis. And we learn that Batman is ramping up all of his attacks against this group, as this group itself is ramping up their attacks against Gotham. So, and this story does kind of fall back into a typical Batman story, I feel like. The first issue was kind of all flash and shock and awe for this new Batman that we're learning about here. But I feel like this issue does kind of take a bit of a step back, and we're kind of into a typical Batman kind of detective story here. So, I mean, we do get plenty of violence and action in this book. We see Batman's very hard to take down. He's super swole. He's got knives in his back. Doesn't even seem to affect him because he's got some armor, and this cape he uses as an actual weapon. And he's got these giant spikes that he can protrude out of his back as protection or offensive maneuvering. And they're fighting at the aquarium here, so we've got all these fish in the background. And he uses his spikes to crack open the ice and kind of start to drown all these party animals, but they're just like, ha, you got us wet, big deal. But then he drops this little ball of hydrochloric acid into the water, and they start to get all of their appendages and feet burned off as they're surrendering to the police here, and they're saying, I'm missing my toes. So Alfred's watching all of this go down, and he's narrating it as well. So we're kind of getting like little snippets of Alfred's journal here as he watches the Batman taking notes on him, trying to figure out everything he can about him. And this kind of makes him laugh, the way he did the party animals like that. And then we learn that Batman not only has the two giant, well, actually, there are four giant towers that he lives in the middle of Gotham. He's got little bat caves all over the city, and Alfred's been tracking them and mapping them out. And finally, Alfred realizes the map of all of his caves is in the shape of a bat, which is pretty silly. Alfred says he's certainly committed to the bit, which made me laugh out loud when I was reading this. But I think it's kind of silly. All of Batman's caves are just in the shape of a bat. That doesn't seem very strategic. and if Batman's so good, no one would ever figure that out except for Alfred, I guess. I don't know. It's just a very funny little thing. So Alfred's tracking Batman, like I said. He's tracking Bruce, too, on his time off. And he finds out that Bruce actually goes and visits the killer of his father, Joe Chill. And Alfred says he doesn't know what he said to him, but that makes him like Bruce even a little bit more. So eventually the party animals find out where Bruce's hideout is, in the big giant towers in the middle of Gotham. But Alfred also lets us know that Batman's pretty much always ready for anything, and he's got everything mapped out. So even though these party animals are attacking his base to try and come and kill him, obviously Batman's one step ahead, and he blows the building up, giving it a Batman mask look to it in the explosion, which is pretty awesome. And Alfred says all he is one long advanced forward. Batman AF. Which could definitely, in our day and age, mean totally something totally different. Batman as fuck. So, which is what this kind of looks like. Pretty awesome looking image there. But I do like the idea of this is a Batman that continues to advance forward, and we get that here. He's got his giant bat towers here that we learned in the first issue, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. And here in the second issue, he blows them up, doesn't even really need them. So I like if we continue to advance things, that's good. You know, I do get kind of bored of the same Batman stories told over and over again. Same with any other superhero team. You know, it's like you still got Spider-Man wearing the same outfit after, 60 years. Same with a lot of the X-Men or Avengers. And they're all basically the same age, and things never seem to advance very much in comic books. So if DC is taking the approach here of this Absolute series to advance things, I'm all for it. So we see that Bruce's mom is a friend of Commissioner Gordon, who nearly got killed in the first issue, so he's in the hospital here. We also learn about Bruce's friends. Now, this is the one kind of, I guess, critique I might have about this book. One thing that I don't like so much is that all of Bruce's friends are just enemies from the other universe. So we've got like Riddler, Penguin, Two-Face, and Killer Croc. They're all, this is Bruce's gang. They all hang out. They play poker. So we get a game of poker here. It's really well written. I mean, we get personalities of each character, but this almost feels just like a dream sequence to me. Like we're in the land of Oz. Bruce is Dorothy, and he's going to wake up and go, you were there, and you were there, and you were there. This is what this kind of feels like to me. It's a bit contrived, but I do understand, as readers of Batman comics, we do kind of, in a sense, already sort of know these characters, so seeing them is like an Easter egg. But I don't like, using kind of assets, you might say, of this other universe and just kind of shuffling them around on the deck, so to speak. That's kind of the only thing that I didn't really like about this book so far, is just this kind of component. But we'll see where it goes. It might be cool. I think all of these guys might eventually turn against Bruce and become villains, so at least he kind of has a bit of a backstory with all of them beforehand. So we'll see how it goes. Get some awesome images of Batman here. Some of my favorite drawings in this book are some of the smaller panels too. Like just some of these smaller panels, especially when the action is going too. So we get Batman here. He's trying to figure out, doing some detective work here. So this is how it kind of feels, just like a regular Batman comic. He's investigating Mayor Hill, who's taking over Gotham since Gordon is in the hospital. And he's pretty crooked, we seem to think. So Batman's investigating him. He breaks into his offices here and discovers that he's got a golden chest, also known as an arc. So there's the detective work by Batman. He plugs in this USB drive and he gets confronted by Sionis, the big bad guy of this comic book here. He's got a guy with a missile launcher just ready to shoot it right at Batman right at that moment. Of course, Batman just in the smoke. This is like one of the cool panels I was talking about here. And he just comes right at the guy, comes down the elevator shaft. That's when he's met by Alfred, who's been following him this whole time. He says he's a good detective, but the party animals aren't what they seem. Alfred wants to help Batman. Batman says he's got 30 seconds to explain. Alfred says he needs a car so they can get out of here and go talk. And Batman says, you're already standing in it. And then he just drives this giant bat bulldozer out through the bottom of the building here and crashes through the police so they can make their escape. And then on the final page here, we flash back to Bruce sitting in his room after his father had died. His friends had come over. He told them to go away. But Selina sneaks up there and she says, get up, you're coming with me. So we'll start to learn about this absolute Catwoman, I assume, coming up after this. So cool issue. I enjoyed this a lot. I'd recommend it if you can find it. So thanks again for watching. I do post daily comic book reviews. So I'll see you guys on the next one.